Welcome to the Create Your Empowered Self podcast. This how-to podcast is focused on empowering you to live your best life by incorporating the principles of the law of attraction, NLP, meditation, and other spiritual teachings. I'm Jeannie Hall, a certified NLP practitioner and creative empowerment coach. Let's get you empowered. Hello and welcome to the Create Your Empowered Self podcast. This is episode 10, Showing Up. So showing up is what I'm going to be talking about today. And the reason for this is because this is one of those essential parts of transforming your life for the better. And it's one of the single most important things. And what showing up actually is being present in the present, being in the moment you're in right now, and being aware of what's going on around you. That is the part that makes weight loss, financial freedom, career success, and fulfilling relationships possible. Because if you're aware of what's going on around you right now, you're much more likely to be aware of what's you're not in automatic pilot. And that's what so many of us fall into. We get busy doing things. We get busy staying busy, basically. And then at some point we are aware of how we're feeling and how unhappy we are. And we look at our life and we say, how did I end up with this bad relationship? How did I end up in this crappy job? How did I end up broke? All those kinds of things. And as soon as you become present of how you're feeling as you go from moment to moment in the present day, then things can really start to change for you. And what I mean by staying present too is really being able to focus on what is around you right now that is amazing, what is beautiful. What are some beautiful, amazing things going on around you? What are some things that you can look at and say, that's really beautiful? Because the more you focus on something, as you know from a recent podcast I did, the more they expand. So you want those big, powerful, beautiful, good things to expand. You want happiness. You want to see beauty. You want to see gorgeous things and happy things. And the more you focus on those, the more likely you will see those. And part of that as well isn't only looking outward for the beautiful, amazing things, which are there all the time, but also being able to go inward and really grounding yourself and understanding what you really are and who you really are. And part of that knowledge and understanding is understanding that you are a spiritual being that is residing in a human body. And as long as, if you're just doing busy work all the time, if you're just going from one thing to the next thing to the next thing, and you're never actually stopping to acknowledge, I'm a spiritual being. I have intuition that helps me on my path. I have deep inner knowledge and wisdom that is available to me if I want to access it. The more you go from one busy project to another, the less likely you are to understand who you really are and to understand why you're unhappy. Because the reason you're unhappy is a term that we use in NLP called congruent. If you're not doing, like, let's say you had a dream and you're not actually following that dream because you've just gotten real busy in your life and you're taking care of your kids and you're taking care of your spouse and you're working a day job or two and you're doing one thing and another thing and this thing and that thing, and you're not actually doing what you really always dreamt of doing and something that you really want to do, then that's why you're feeling this sense of unease and unhappiness, maybe even misery, because what your life is and the choices you're making to be busy is keeping you from being congruent or in alignment with what your dreams actually are. But there is a way to fix this. So, and you have to understand, there's always going to be setbacks in our life. And that's one of those things that it's part of our journeys as being human beings on this planet, is that we're going to have things pop up that we prefer not to have and that we don't like. And what that actually is, this isn't some bad thing to punish us. If something quote unquote bad happens, that's not a negative thing necessarily. It may feel very negative and it may be hurtful and it may cause you to be upset and stressed and even cry and be angry and all sorts of things. But what that actually is feedback from God, the universe, that you're not really lining up with what you really want in your life. So if you experience something that is a setback, see that as feedback from God and the universe that you're actually a little bit out of alignment, but you can fix that. And Abraham Hicks would define such a setback as clarification in the way that you should go. And I really love that definition because it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just showing you, oh, no, this isn't your path. Let's try this instead, right? It's something that you can change. It's something that you have control and power of. And that is very empowering to know that it's a choice that you can make to change that in your life. And Abraham would also tell us that there are no bad circumstances, just circumstances that make us change direction. So maybe you're in a job right now and you have a boss that doesn't quite get you and what you're trying to do. They don't appreciate all the hard work you're putting in and day out. And you work and work to impress them, and you keep trying to get promotions, and no matter what you do, they never acknowledge you and they never promote you. And so you bend over backwards for this person, maybe for months or even years, and nothing happens, nothing changes. And so you end up at the end of your rope and you just decide, I'm not doing this anymore. And you apply for another job, or you even start a business and go off on your own. And the amazing thing that happens is when you get this other job, you're so much more satisfied in that job. Or maybe you use the skills that your old boss never appreciated and you go into business for yourself and become a massive success. And of course, there are roadblocks and setbacks on all of those different paths. If you're in a job with a boss that doesn't appreciate you, then that's a difficult position to be in. If you start a whole nother job and the boss is no longer the problem, but you have another setback, then the problem may be in how you're going about your work, what your work ethic is and what you're trying to do. And maybe that's, again, maybe you're looking for your job to bring you happiness when happiness is found within yourself instead. Or maybe you go into a business and you start that. But again, you have to have your mind in the right place. You have to know that your own strength and happiness is within yourself, and no external thing is going to bring that to you. So again, anything like that though, any setback, any difficulty, any bad days or bad weeks, months or years, whatever, is always just feedback from God and the universe telling you, no, go this way instead. Try this path instead. This is not the path that you are meant to be on because you're not happy. If you're not happy, then that is feedback. So, and I know personally that I have had several instances in my life, and one of them was exactly the catalyst that I needed to make a change. And I'll link to that podcast that I spoke about that very thing, and I'll link to that in the show notes. But it's one of those things where you can definitely have feedback in your life and you can make a change for the better, and just know that you're never stuck. You always have free will. You always have the choice to change what is going wrong in your life and get back on the path that makes you happier and feel better. As long as you show up, right? And staying in the present and staying aware of the feedback that you're getting, and look for the reason why you're getting that feedback, because there's always a reason. And I'm not talking about something minor. You had a bee sting or a bug bite, little things that happen. Paper cut. Oh God, what am I doing wrong? No. Nothing, too crazy like that. But if it's big stuff that's happening and big things keep going wrong and you're like, what is going on? Really take a step back, stop in your life, take a moment and really reflect on, okay, I'm in this position. This is what's happened. I'm not happy. Why is that? and really look at it. And, again, it's one of those things where if you're in a situation and you find yourself just maybe things keep going wrong in a certain part of your life. And what it is those are patterns, and that feedback that you're going to see, if it is a reoccurring thing, you'll see a pattern. That's definitely one of those things you want to examine. So let's look at patterns. One of them might be maybe in your relationships. So maybe you find yourself dating the same type of incompatible person every time you seek out a long-term relationship. And it ends up being someone who cheats on you, or they lie to you, or they're emotionally unavailable when you really need them to be available. And part of showing up is being aware of the decisions that you're making and why you're making them. So if you're dating guys that you ultimately can't trust over and over again, examine that within yourself and see what it is that you are looking for in a person and why. And understand that in order to give happiness and fall in love and be in love happily with someone, you really have to be able to trust yourself and to love yourself and give yourself all the good things that you want. Looking for those things in another person can end up being very detrimental, because the only person who can love you the way you really want them to love you is yourself. Because everybody else is going to fall short, because you've got this, most of us have this idealized version of what they want someone to love, how they want someone to love them. But the only one who can really fulfill that 100% is you. But you can do that for yourself. And once you do, those things that you want so desperately, they'll just fall into your life. That love of your life, if that's what you want, that job, that dream, whatever it is, that will just happen because you've learned how to love yourself and give yourself the things that you were looking for elsewhere. So let's look at, and it might also be, especially with all these types of things, sometimes it's a self-worth issue. Sometimes when people tell other people, it's like, oh, well, you need to love yourself more. A lot of the time that's uncomfortable for people to hear. They're like, self-love, ew. A lot of people react to that. And that is usually a worthiness issue that probably needs to be worked on. If you have self-worth issues, then that's something that you definitely want to look at within yourself. And you need to start working on realizing that you are good enough. And if you don't believe that you are, then that's something that there are tools and techniques to help you with that. And because what you are sending out is what you're getting back. So if you're sending out the message, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, then things are going to keep showing up for you that show you that you're not good enough, even though you are. You are always good enough. And here are some of those tools and techniques that can help with that. There's a few different ways, because the truth is that if you show up for yourself, all those good things will come to you automatically. But if you have problems believing that you are what the truth is, which is a gorgeous, absolutely worthy, perfect spiritual being residing in a human form on this planet at this time, and the universe and God are doing everything to help you and to show you how wonderful and loving and beautiful you are. But if you can't see that, that's probably because you're not connected enough with your inner self. You're not spending enough time getting to know the real internal you, that beautiful spiritual version of you. And some ways that you can get access to that part of you are meditation, which of course you guys know I do. I've gotten in kind of a pattern where I do every second or third of these Create Your Empowered Self episodes will be a guided meditation. So keep looking for that. I personally find guided meditation to be super helpful. Having someone lead me and hear the voice in the guided meditation has definitely changed my life for the better. So that's why I'm creating those for you as well. But that's a great way, especially if you're just starting out in your spiritual journey and you've never really done all this kind of stuff before, and it's a little bit different, and you're not super comfortable maybe with everything yet, a guided meditation in particular can really help you start to access that inner part of yourself. Another way you can do that is to search out positive affirmations, which are basically just positive sayings. And if you keep looking for those, you can write them yourself if you'd like, or if you have problems believing in yourself, then you might go to some site like Pinterest. You might just Google it on, just put in certain like positive affirmations and things will pop up in Google. But you can find all sorts of great things out there that will help you to really cement some of those ideas into your head. And if they feel like lies to you, like if someone tells you you are loved, you are beautiful, you are strong, you are intelligent, you are so wonderful. If you have problems, if those feel like lies to you, then that's another way to help turn that into the truth for yourself, because it is the truth. You are a divine being created by God, the universe. You're a co-creator with the universe. You're so, so powerful. But until you really realize that on an internal level, on a gut level, then manifesting the life that you really want is going to be difficult for you. So that's why changing those mindsets are so important, and affirmations and meditation are both great for that. The third thing that I suggest is something that's just a really fun, if you like arts and crafts at all, I definitely suggest vision boards. Vision boards are just kind of a fun thing that you can do. You can create it on apps and things like that, but I personally like just getting like a poster board from the dollar store and just getting newspaper magazines or printing out pictures or however you want to do it, and finding pictures of the perfect life you want. So like if you want money, then you'll get pictures of either money, straight up just cash, or you might get pictures of an affluent lifestyle, or you vacationing to different exotic locales, or whatever it is that your dream is. Maybe you want a car, maybe you want a nice new home, maybe you want the love of your life, maybe you want to, if you're a writer like I am, maybe you want to be published or have several books published, or have a more successful writing career, or a more successful whatever career you have, or maybe just a job that lights you up within. Any of those things, whatever pictures you can find that'll illustrate that for you, that would be what you would want to put on your vision board. And it can also be quotes. It can also be just, even abstract images that mean something to you. This is a very personal thing, so for everybody. So whatever you want, and you can even write it in yourself, but creating something that is a visual reminder that you can look at every day, and you can put it in a place that you'll see every day to remind yourself of what your intention is. Because making an intention and solidifying it in your mind is the first step to actually manifesting it in your life. And when you say to yourself, I want this in my life, and you remind yourself, I deserve this, I am worthy of this. And especially when you can look at a vision board full of your dreams and feel good about it and say, I know this is coming to me. That's when really magical things start to happen in your life. So those are some of my suggestions on how to do that. And again, it's called showing up. It's part of being who you are. It's showing up to be the real you, the deserving version of you, the eternal, perfect, spiritual you. So let's tackle another one. Money is a big one for a lot of us, and I include myself in that. I can totally relate to having money problems and money woes. But having money ultimately isn't about, and this was my personal issue with money, was that I thought money could only come from two places. I thought it could only come from a job, or it could only come from like the lottery, and otherwise it didn't exist. That's kind of what I believed most of my life until recently. And because of that, I had locked myself into certain situations that I was not happy and couldn't seem to have enough money at the end of the month. And I always think of that country song, too much month at the end of the money. There's a lot of us out there that live that life day to day. But the reason we live that way is because of our beliefs around money, and you can change those. Remember, you have free will. You have the choice to believe what you want. And I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight, but you can over time, if you're stubborn about it and you stick with it, you can change those beliefs into something that's much more beneficial for you. And so, because I believe that, your job is where you get your money, and if you have a poor family, you're never going to have money and all those sorts of things, what I realized was that I was wrong. I realized that having money has nothing to do with the job you have necessarily. It can, but it doesn't have to. And that the family you were born into may not have anything to do with it either. It can, but it doesn't have to, right? It's all about how you feel about money deep down in the core of your being. How do you feel about money? If you have certain beliefs that are blocking money from coming to you, then that's probably why you're struggling so hard with that. And so to attract it into your life, you'll have to start believing that you're valuable enough as a person to have it. And if you don't think you deserve the money, because then it won't matter what you do. A lot of people try and get money by hustling. They try and go, be a go-getter, go out there and get the money and work hard and get the money and work hard. And a lot of those people, maybe they'll get money for a short period of time. But if they really deep down don't believe that they're worth it, or they don't believe they deserve it, or if they have a constant fear of losing it, even if they get the money, they will lose it, usually in a short period of time, because they've got that underlying fear, and they'll actually make it happen in their life without realizing what they're doing. So we're so powerful, y'all. Seriously, we are so powerful as these creative, divine beings, and we are so our mindsets have so much power over our lives. So that's why it's so important to show up in your life and be aware of what your thought processes are and what your belief systems are. Because if it's something that's not serving you, then that is what's causing this negative thing in your life to be a thing. So showing up in your life is really about your own willingness to change your mindset into believing that you really are worthy of all the good things that are out there to have, because you are deserving. You're smart enough, you're strong enough, you're dedicated enough, you're beautiful enough, you're giving enough, you're motivated enough, you're old enough, you're young enough, you're right enough. You've earned it already. That's the truth. You earned it the moment you were born into this human form. Because think about this. Who amongst us would deny a newborn baby anything? A newborn baby is brought into this world. And let's say it was put right in your arms. Whether it's your baby or someone else's, doesn't even matter. A newborn baby comes into the world and is placed in your arms. Who among us would not do everything in their power to give that baby whatever it needs? Just because it's here. Just because it's beautiful and it's perfect just as it is. Boy or girl, doesn't matter. That baby, sick or healthy, doesn't matter. We're going to go out of our way to take care of that baby. Right? Here's what you need to remember. You are that newborn baby yourself. You are that baby. So why would you deny yourself anything that you deserve? Why would you question that you deserve it? This life kind of messes us up along the way sometimes, where things happen in our childhood and our adulthood, and different messages we get from society and from the government and from TV and from movies and from, other people and people who have well-intentioned beliefs and religions and societies and all sorts of things, that we get these different messages of what we're supposed to be. But those aren't always true. What is true is that you are that newborn baby, and you deserve everything just by virtue of being that baby, by being here, by existing at all. You deserve every good thing, right? So that is what God is all about, and the universe is all about, and source energy is all about. They're trying to provide this love for you. And they did, and it's inside of you, right? Whatever that higher power is for you, whether you call it he, she, it, they, it doesn't matter. That higher version of you that you know is there because you can feel it. That is inside of you, giving you everything you could possibly desire. That's what the universe is here to do, is to give you everything. Because here's the thing, and it's not, I know a lot of people will hear that and say, oh, that's so selfish. It's not. Because when you have everything that you need in life, you're not miserable. And you're much more likely to go out and give and give and give because it feels good to give then. It doesn't feel good to give when you're empty. When you're completely empty and drained and exhausted and maybe even sick and not healthy, when you try and give in that state, it just goes to crap, right? It's the shitty crappy I've talked about before. If you have nothing to give, it's very difficult to give, and usually it turns into dust, right? It turns into nothing. It turns into something negative because you don't have it to give. So it's so important that you first fill yourself up with all those good things. Fill yourself up with all the love and all the goodness and all the respect and all the joy that you possibly can. And you can, it's all within you. But until you do that, if you try and go out and then manifest the life of your dreams and try and be happy, that's going to be very difficult until you realize that you're that newborn baby and you already deserve everything, and maybe you haven't been giving it to yourself. Maybe you've been putting everybody else's needs above your own. And here's the truth. You have to put yourself first and your needs, because you can't give from an empty space. And I've mentioned this before, and I know a lot of people have on personal development channels, but the whole airplane analogy, right? They always tell you to put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you go and put it on your child or on someone that you're with that might need you to put it on them. Put it on yourself first, because if you don't, and the oxygen leaves the airplane and you die, you're certainly not helping your children or anybody with you then. The same is true spiritually. If you are empty and you're trying to give from that place, and you might even, hopefully not, but if you're one of those people out there that feel like you're spiritually dead inside or dying, then there's no way you can then give anything to anyone else from a good place, because you're not in a good place. So until you can get into that good place, it's going to be very hard for you, and your life's going to be very difficult. But the good news is you have that power within yourself to do that. You are so powerful. You are pure love. You are the essence of pure love. We all are. And light and goodness, that is all of us. So just believe that and show up for your life. So if you would like to hear more about the power of worthiness and showing up for your own life and finding more success and happiness, I've put several links to other podcasts and other websites. I put one is a great article from my mentor Kelly Cooper, and she talks about law of attraction, shifting energy when you have anxiety or depression, and I know that's an issue for a lot of folks out there, and I've dealt with that myself. So she's got a great article on that. There's also a great one from her website called The Benefit of Living in the Now. And that's a podcast of hers. So definitely check that out if you like to listen to podcasts, which you probably do if you're listening to this one. So check that out. I've got that linked in the show notes. Another one is from her husband, Ryan Biddulph, who has been on my blog and I mentioned him several times. He's also one of my mentors. And he gives a 1-minute blogging tip on, which is a little podcast, which is about feeling overwhelmed. And a lot of us, probably all of us, have been in the place of feeling overwhelmed. So go check out his stuff and his podcast on that. And the last one I give you is from the Life Coach School, episode 209, which is about showing up for your life. Oh, and one more. I have my coach and mentor, Betsy Paik, and hers is about how to stop your excuses. So check all those out, how to show up for your life, be happier, feel better. And as always, guys, I hope you have an empowered day, week, month, and year. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for listening to the Create Your Empowered Self podcast. If you've enjoyed this content or found it helpful, please let me know by leaving a review. I upload podcasts every Wednesday and Saturday, so subscribe to receive these regular updates. Now, go out there and live a more empowered life.